Hey guys, Corrosive here, and today I'm going to teach you everything you need to know to get started with SDRAngel under Windows. So don't go anywhere. You're watching Signals Everywhere. Alright, so before we get started, make sure you stay tuned to the end of the video. This software is really a beast in the way that it operates compared to stuff you're probably familiar with, and I don't want you to miss any of this information because in the next video, I'm going to teach you how to transmit using the same software. So before we get started, make sure that you have your SDR plugged in before actually starting your application. If you don't, it may not load in properly and it may not show up in the selection list. You can try using the refresh button, but I find it generally doesn't work for me, so I close the software and reopen it. If you still don't see your SDR in the list, click on the finger. Once you've clicked on the finger, you'll get a select from list dialog, and you should be able to select your SDR from there. There's also options for file sources and remote inputs, but we're not going to get into those today. So with your SDR selected, you need to hit the play button in the upper left corner, and that's going to allow you to see the very familiar SDR waterfall that you've probably seen a time or two. And you're going to notice here that we have this set up as R0. This is letting us know that this is a receive control window here. So this is all just for receive. And the first thing I want to point out is your gain settings. So if you're familiar with software like SDR Sharp, you're going to be probably familiar with the fact that they call that RTL AGC, which is automatic gain control. And here it's just called gain, and this is where you're going to increase or decrease the gain on a signal. So if you have a signal coming in that's very strong or very weak, you can adjust that right here. The other important thing you need to know how to do is adjust your sample rate. The sample rate is how much bandwidth are you pulling in with your software-defined radio. So right now, I'm at 1.7 megahertz or mega samples wide. So we're looking at 1.7 megahertz of bandwidth here in this window. And before we actually start tuning around to a signal, you may also want to use the DC autocorrection, and you'll see that DC spike that was in the center there has been automatically corrected and removed. That can really help when you go to decode a signal. So you want to know where that is. And so from here, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to type in 102.5. So this is 102.5 FM. This is a broadcast radio station in my area. And what you may have noticed is you can't hear any audio. So let me go ahead and first turn down the gain because we are overdriving this a bit. And once I've turned my gain down, what you're going to find with SDRAngel is that unlike other applications that give you all the demodulation stuff right there, these are actually put into separate modules. So we have stuff for ATV, we have stuff for AM and digital ATV, and in this case, we need WFM or wideband FM, broadcast band essentially. We're going to click on this, and then we're going to press the plus button to the right of that window. And so now if I bring this over to the left, this is our demodulator. Now, if you're familiar with my DATV videos on this, you'll see that our bandwidth is quite thin here. We're not actually capturing the whole signal, and the audio doesn't sound very good. So we can go to our RF bandwidth here, and I'm going to select 250. And you'll see that this blue line here is now encompassing almost the entire signal, and the audio should sound pretty good. Now, I'm going to turn that down because I have no idea if that's playing copyrighted audio or anything, and I don't want to get a flag for that. But that would be a broadcast FM signal that you're seeing here. So it works pretty well and pretty intuitively in that sense. So, all right, so let's say you want to tune to a signal that is at 102.5625, for example. You'll notice there is not a fourth digit here. You can't tune to 102.5625. Well, the way you can do that is by coming over here, and this is your frequency offset. And what I can do is just tap on that, and you'll see it brought it over 500 hertz. And we can come back down. If I move over here, we can move it over 5 kilohertz. So we are now at 102.5005. And this is very, very useful, although it is a bit odd that it is placed in a separate location. So you want to make note of that. If the signal you're trying to pull in is slightly offset, you may want to actually come over to your demodulator settings and adjust that by hand. You also have things like audio bandwidth that can be adjusted as well, and that's basically how wide that audio signal is being passed through as well. So I'm going to go ahead and close our demodulator here, and what we're going to do now is I'm just going to go ahead up the band. Let's try 929. And let's see, that might be our signal. Yeah, so this here you're going to see is pager data. And one of the things we can do here with this, let me bring our sample rate down so we can get a closer image of what we're looking at. And now another good way to do this is now we're looking at about 950 kilohertz here, but we can use our decimation factor, or dissemination. I don't know how to pronounce it. But by increasing this, we can get a closer look at our signal, and you'll see the waterfall slows down quite a bit as well. So we can get a real nice look at the signal that we are attempting to listen to here. And I think I probably zoomed in a little too much. We're going to move the signal over. And so here is our pager signal, and we can get a very nice view of what this signal is doing. Now let's say we want to decode that signal. Well, in this case, we're actually going to have to go over to our narrowband FM demodulator. We're going to hit plus. And so here is our demodulator here. We can also grab this and move it around. I'm going to move it into the center here. And let's bring this on over. I'm going to also turn the volume down on this because I don't want to be blasting you with pager data. And so what we have here is that this is not wide enough for us by any means, and we actually need to increase that. So our RF bandwidth is at 5 kilohertz. Let's try and bring it up to 12.5, and that pretty much covers it. But what we can do here, let's try 15. So 15 has covered the entire pager signal here, and we can now hear that pager signal coming in. What you may also see is it looks like my squelch is stopping this, so you probably can't actually hear it. And so you can disable the squelch by clicking on it, and you'll see that the speaker will turn green. Another thing you can do is this little wheel here. We can bring that down to -100, and now you have all that audio coming in through your speaker. Now what you can do with this is if you right-click on the speaker, and I'm not going to do that because it'll mess up my microphone, but it will give you a list of all the audio interfaces that you have available to you. If you have a virtual audio cable on your machine, and I will put a link in the description below to a video where I teach you how to use virtual audio cables, you can pipe the audio out of SDRAngel and into a decoding application. So with that, we now have FM demodulation for that signal. We also have something down here called CTCSS, and that's something you'll see a lot on amateur radio repeaters. If you turn this on, this will only open the squelch if it hears one of these tones in the background. It'll strip it out of the audio, and it'll unsquelch your signal so that you can hear it. Comes in pretty handy for that, especially if you're an amateur radio operator. And with that being said, those are the major features that you're going to have to use with SDRAngel just to get started on receiving a signal. So I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions on SDRAngel, something else that I didn't cover here that you want to see, please leave me a comment below. If this was helpful, make sure you hit like and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more video like this. We'd love to have you. One final thing before I go, please consider supporting me on Patreon. The money generated from that is used to help buy things to help support the channel, and in return you guys get a lot of benefits as well, like early access to all of my videos. This one, in fact, has been available to my patrons for about a week before you even were able to see it. So keeping that in mind, I would love to have you guys. And of course, you're also going to see our little window here thanking all of my current patrons. You guys are amazing, and you help me do what I love doing every single day. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you all in the next one.